Итак, друзья, привет! Если вы еще думаете, где взять бесплатную криптовалюту, за которую не нужно платить ни копейки, хочу вам посоветовать хороший кран по заработку этой самой криптовалюты Faucet, а затем торговать на бирже. Почему бы и нет? Здесь можно зарабатывать практически в авторежиме автоклейм поинты, которые можно конвертировать в любую понравившуюся вам криптовалюту и затем выводить на ваш кошелек. Здесь также можно прокачивать свои уровни и увеличивать доход экспоненциальный от вашего уровня. И предела для развития нету. Плюс реферальная система. Выбирайте сами, что вы будете делать. Но я считаю, что это проект, который стоит того. Так, всем привет! Вы на канале Andrews Crypto News, и как всегда у меня для вас есть нечто невероятное, что реально может поглотить вас и всю вашу жизнь. Но прежде чем мы начнем, я хочу в конце концов попросить подписаться на мой канал с колокольчиком, потому что это крайне важно. Ведь вы в следующий раз не пропустите мое новое видео, а также это будет важно для развития канала. А теперь давайте в конце концов уже начнем. Я сегодня заработал на Xrp с продажей и покупкой в 1000 единиц Xrp. Вот и посчитайте, я ее купил по $1.08, а продал по $1.14. Я заработал с каждой единицы Xrp 6%. Это и была торговая сделка. Но это все фигня на самом деле по сравнению с тем, что возможно уже в будущем будет, а именно твиты Илона Маска. Это самый что ни на есть памп, который работает и продвигается просто день ото дня. Я даже не знаю, как это выразить словами, потому что в глубине души одни эмоции. Нечто невероятное нас просто поглощает каждый раз, когда Xrp развивается. Это круто! Я на самом деле жду Xrp по $5 США. Я знаю, что он будет стоить и $50, и $100, и даже $1000 он будет стоить, потому что инфляция. Никто от этого не застрахован. Xrp, биткоин будет стоить $1 миллион. Это будет в будущем, я знаю, потому что это возможно предсказать. И это будет. И твит Илона Маска запустит самый что ни на есть прогресс. Цепочку, связь, которая и свяжет все эти составляющие. В общем, давайте будем ждать этого момента. Подписывайтесь на канал, потому что это пипец как круто. Пока.
Customers. And so we're seeing more momentum than we've ever had around using Xrp to move this liquidity around the world. And so we couldn't really be happier about how that has played out in a world where there's still a lot, I think, of FUD, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt about what's going on in crypto. This is a real use case solving a real problem for real customers.
Okay, so which banks right now are actually using Ripple?
We have signed up about over 200 banks around the world. Some of those banks just use our software to do that debit and credit, fiat to fiat, and some of them are using Xrp in those flows. We have banks like Santander that we've been working with for years and are moving lots of volume through the Ripple's technology. And then, as I mentioned earlier, payment providers like MoneyGram or RIA or Asimov that are using Xrp actually to move that liquidity and really reducing their cost and improving the product.
Just in terms of the transactions, though, that you're seeing using Ripple, what proportion of those actually use XRP versus direct? And just where do you see that ratio going? I'm just trying to get a sense of sort of how much XRP itself is actually used as part of the Ripple platform.
So I would say the order of magnitude, the way to think about it, is similar to the proportion of customers. So if we've got, I don't know, a couple hundred customers we have launched, 10 to 15 of them we've talked about using XRP. I would use that ratio as the total ratio between what's happening with Ripple's technology overall.
XRP, like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, has been volatile. I asked Brad if the message to investors is don't use XRP to speculate.
People are going to speculate on different asset classes. People speculate on gold, currencies. You name it, people are going to speculate. When we think about this, and what I've said very publicly is I think the long-term value of any digital asset is going to be derived from the utility it delivers. There is a lot of hype in the crypto market space. We've seen that even recently. A lot of attention around what's going on with Libra and Facebook's announcement around Libra. Today, that's just a white paper.
China and the People's Bank of China have harnessed this and are ready to put it out there. There is concern that this could put the U.S. dollar into jeopardy.
What I would say to President Trump and Chairman Powell is we shouldn't paint all crypto with one broad brush. What I think you see in their comments is the kind of very general view that can crypto be used for illicit purposes? Can crypto be used for anonymous transactions? The U.S. should not take a blind eye and not recognize that not all of this is about those illicit use cases. And the reason why I think China is leaning in is because they see that future.
But China says that they could use their China coin to surpass or do a workaround the sanctions that the U.S. has put into place on certain countries.
And so I think you're right that part of the opportunity they see is how can they dislodge the U.S. dollar. What Ripple is trying to do isn't at all to compete with the U.S. dollar, to compete with really any fiat currency. We're simply trying to use our technologies and use the open source technology of the Xrp ledger to reduce the frictions in these payments.
Well, to that end, when you're talking about the government, French Hill, a Republican from Arkansas, and Bill Foster, the Democrat from Illinois, both wrote a letter to the Federal Reserve saying, you guys better get on the ball here. This is important because we could lose our status eventually, or at least put the greenback in jeopardy.
Right. And I think you are seeing some members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, and luckily this is a very bipartisan issue, that they see that the U.S. has been a leader in many technical revolutions. There's no reason why we shouldn't be here. And there are big issues at stake, including, as we're describing here, kind of, where does the U.S. dollar sit in the hierarchy of global currencies?
So 3 to 5 years is tricky. If you'd said 30 years, I think I'd give you a more accurate vision. I think 3 to 5 years has a lot of dependencies on, does our economy reopen in the next 6 months? What happens with the presidential election? What happens with China on various immediate issues of national security? So, but what I would say is if you kind of assume a steady state on all of those things, what I think will happen is 3 to 5 years from now, I think banks will be connecting to blockchains the same way that they connect to SWIFT and ACH and other networks.
Right.
Once they do that, the nature of banking will begin to change, because while banking will always, I believe, be the key on-ramp and the key value-add service provider in people's financial services lives, they will not be the bottleneck of the transaction of financial services.